Hello, I'm Hossein, and welcome to the sixth and final episode of my D5 Render Clash course on YouTube. Throughout the previous episodes, we explored most of the main tools and features of D5 Render, from importing models and setting up materials to lighting, environment settings, effects, and rendering options. However, there are still a few important sections that we haven't covered yet. D5 Render also includes some special and powerful features that can help you work faster and achieve more professional results. So in this final episode, we are going to explore these remaining tools, additional settings, and some unique features that D5 Render has to offer. Without any further introduction, let's jump into the final episode of this series and get started. Now, let's start by exploring the AI features in D5 Render. In the previous episodes, we already talked about AI Enhancer, a tool that uses artificial intelligence to improve the quality of your rendered images by enhancing details, sharpness, and overall image clarity. However, AI in D5 Render is not limited to this feature. There are also other AI-powered tools designed to help with the design and presentation process. One of these features is called AI Style Transfer. AI Style Transfer allows you to transfer the visual style and appearance of one image onto your rendered image. In simple terms, you give D5 a reference image, and the AI analyzes its style, colors, lighting, mood, and materials, then applies that look to your render. So, for example, you can take a simple interior and give it a luxurious, minimalist, Japanese, or industrial look without having to adjust everything manually. To use this feature, you can access AI Style Transfer from the section you can see on the screen. To use AI Style Transfer, open the AI Style Transfer panel from the section you can see on the screen. Here, you can choose from different preset styles, such as winter, spring, night, or artistic styles, like watercolor. Simply select the style you want, and D5 uses AI to transform the overall look of your render based on that style. You can also adjust the strength of the effect to control how much the selected style changes your original image. This is a quick and easy way to experiment with different visual styles and create different looks from the same render. Style transfer, let's move on to another useful AI feature in D5 Render, AI Material Snap. This tool is designed for situations where you have an image of a specific material or surface, but you don't want to manually convert it into a usable texture. With AI Material Snap, D5 can analyze a regular image of a material and transform it into a 3D material that can be used directly inside the D5 environment. For example, imagine you have a photo of stone, wood, fabric, brick, or any other type of surface. Normally, to use this image as a material, you would need to go through several steps, such as creating a base color texture, normal map, roughness map, and adjusting settings like scale and texture repetition. But with AI Material Snap, this process becomes much easier. The AI analyzes your image and tries to extract the necessary information to create a more realistic material. You can access the AI Material Snap tool from the section you can see on the screen. After opening this panel, the first step is to import the material image you want to use. This image can be a photo taken with a camera, an image downloaded from the internet, or even a sample of a material that you want to use in your project. After importing the image, D5 starts processing it and uses AI to analyze the material structure, including the repeating pattern, surface depth, roughness, and how the surface reacts to light. Once the process is complete, the result will be available as a ready-to-use material, and you can directly apply it to your model. One of the biggest advantages of this tool is that it significantly speeds up the process of creating custom materials. For example, if you are working on an architectural project that uses a specific type of stone, which is not available in the D5 library, instead of spending hours creating that material manually, you can simply use one image and generate a usable version of it. In fact, AI Material Snap is mainly a time-saving tool that reduces the most time-consuming part of material creation. However, you still have full control over the final result and can modify the generated material based on your project's requirements. This feature can be especially useful for architects and designers who regularly work with unique and custom materials. After exploring AI Style Transfer and AI Material Snap, we now reach one of the most interesting AI features in D5 Render, AI Model Generation. This tool allows you to create 3D models using artificial intelligence, either from a single image or from a text description. In the past, when we wanted to add a new object to a scene, We usually had to find it in 3D model libraries or create it ourselves through modeling. But with AI model generation, we can create the objects we need in a much shorter amount of time. To use this feature, you can access AI model generation from the section you can see on the screen. After opening this panel, you can create your desired model in two different ways. The first method is using a text prompt. In this case, you simply describe what you want to create using words. The AI analyzes your description and generates a 3D model based on your prompt. The second method is using an image reference. With this method, you can upload an image of the object you want, and D5 will try to create a similar 3D model based on that image. This feature can be very useful for creating unique objects, developing early design ideas, or situations where you don't have access to a ready-made 3D model. For example, imagine you have a photo of a guitar that you want to include in your project. Instead of searching the internet for hours to find a similar 3D model, you can simply upload the image to the AI and let it generate a 3D version of that guitar. Once the model is generated, you can import it directly into your D5 scene and use it just like any other D5 asset. You can move it anywhere in the scene, scale it, rotate it, apply different materials if needed, and adjust the lighting to match the rest of your project. However, keep in mind that AI-generated models are not always as accurate or complete as models created by professional 3D artists. After exploring the different AI tools in D5 Render, we now reach one of the newer and more interesting features of this software, AI Agent. AI Agent is basically an intelligent assistant inside D5 that helps you work faster, find the information you need, and simplify certain workflows with the help of artificial intelligence. Unlike tools such as AI Enhancer or AI Style Transfer, which directly affect the image and final render output, AI Agent works more like an interactive assistant. This means you can ask questions or give requests using natural language, and the AI will try to provide helpful guidance based on your needs. To use this feature, you can access AI Agent from the section you can see on the screen. After opening it, you will have a chat window where you can enter your questions or requests. For example, you can ask about a specific tool in D5, learn how to use a certain feature, or even get suggestions for a better workflow in your project. Imagine you don't know how to change a specific setting, or you are looking for a particular tool. Instead of searching through different menus, you can simply ask AI Agent directly. This feature can be especially useful for beginners because it helps them become familiar with the software faster and spend less time searching for different options. It can also be useful for experienced users as a supporting tool. For example, when you want to find a faster way to complete a task or learn more about new features in D5. Overall, AI Agent is another step by D5 toward deeper integration of artificial intelligence, where the software is no longer just an execution tool, but can also become an intelligent companion during the design process. Now that we are familiar with the AI features in D5 Render, let's continue exploring more important and useful features of this software. The last AI feature we are going to explore in this section is AI Atmosphere Match. This tool is designed for situations where you want to transfer the overall atmosphere and mood of a reference image onto your own render. As you know, one of the most important factors in creating a realistic architectural image is not only the model and materials. Elements such as lighting, color palette, weather conditions, contrast, color tone, and the overall mood of the image have a huge impact on the final result. AI Atmosphere Match uses artificial intelligence to analyze these environmental characteristics from a reference image and apply them to your scene. To use this feature, you can access AI Atmosphere Match from the section you can see on the screen. After opening this panel, the first step is to choose a reference image, an image that represents the atmosphere you want to achieve. For example, imagine you have a render of a building, but you want to create the feeling of a sunset scene, a rainy day, a foggy environment, or a warm cinematic atmosphere. In this case, you can import your desired image as the reference image. D5's AI analyzes the image and studies different characteristics such as the dominant colors of the image, the lighting conditions, the contrast level, the color tone, the overall mood of the scene, and even the weather conditions. Then it tries to transfer these qualities to your render. However, keep in mind that AI Atmosphere Match is not designed to completely replace manual lighting adjustments. It is mainly used as a quick starting point for transferring the overall mood and visual direction of an image. Now that we have finished exploring the AI features in D5 Render, let's move on to another very useful tool, especially for large projects and situations where we need to create multiple outputs. This feature is called Render Queue. Render Queue is basically a render management system that allows you to prepare multiple renders in advance and process them one after another without having to wait and start each render individually. Normally, if we want to create multiple renders from different views of a project, we have to manually adjust the camera, quality settings, resolution, and save location every time, then wait for each render to finish. But with Render Queue, we can prepare all of these renders beforehand, and D5 will automatically process them one by one. To use this feature, you can access Render Queue from the section you can see on the screen. After opening this panel, you will have a workspace where you can add different renders to the queue. After adding all the renders you need, you simply start the rendering process. D5 Render will begin processing the items in the queue one by one, and after completing each render, it will automatically move to the next one. Overall, Render Queue is a simple but extremely practical tool. It may not seem essential for small projects, but when you are working with multiple outputs and heavy renders, it can save a significant amount of time. Now, let's explore one of the new and exciting features in D5 Render, a feature that has the potential to change the way architectural projects are presented. This section is called Presentation, or more specifically, Interactive Presentation. As the name suggests, this feature allows you to create an interactive presentation of your project instead of simply showing a rendered image or a video. In traditional workflows, we usually present a project using several still images, final renders, or an animation. However, with an interactive presentation, the audience can move through the project environment, explore different areas, and have a much deeper connection with the design. To use this feature, you can access Presentation from the section you can see on the screen. After entering this section, you can create a presentation environment for your project. The main idea behind this feature is that you can define the movement path, important points, and the way your project is presented. For example, you can create different camera points, one point for the building entrance, one point for the interior spaces, and another point to show the landscape or specific details of the project. After defining these points, users can move between them and explore the project as an interactive 3D environment. This feature can be very useful for client meetings, architectural presentations, exhibitions, or even sharing projects with people who cannot physically visit the location. One of the biggest advantages of interactive presentation is that it creates a stronger connection between the audience and the project. Instead of only seeing a final image and creating their own interpretation, viewers can move through the design themselves and discover details that may not be visible in a single render. For example, in an interior project, you can define a path from the entrance to the living area. Or, in an architectural project, you can better demonstrate the relationship between different spaces. You can also use this feature to create an experience that feels closer to virtual reality, without necessarily needing complex VR equipment. However, it is important to mention that interactive presentation is still a developing feature. In recent versions, D5 Render has been focusing more on improving presentation tools and project interaction, and we can expect this section to receive more advanced features and become a more professional presentation tool in future updates. Because of this, some of the features we might expect from a complete professional presentation system may not be available yet, but this feature has a lot of potential for the future. I will probably create a separate video dedicated only to interactive presentation once this feature becomes more complete, where we can explore all of its capabilities, the workflow of creating a presentation, and its professional applications in detail. The goal of this series was to become familiar with the main features of D5 Render, but this is definitely one of the sections that deserves a deeper look in a separate tutorial. Now, let's move on to another important section of D5 Render. By clicking this button that you can see on the screen, you can create and adjust the environment of your project. In previous episodes, we already talked in detail about terrain and explored how to use the tools related to ground surfaces and topography. However, another important part of creating realistic environments, especially for projects located near water, is the ocean feature. With ocean in D5 Render, you can create a realistic water surface and adjust different parameters to achieve the result you want. To use this feature, you can access the ocean settings from the section you can see on the screen. After enabling ocean, you will have several different controls to adjust the appearance and behavior of the water. These settings are divided into two main sections: surface and coastline. Overall, the ocean tool in D5 Render allows you to transform a simple water surface into a realistic marine environment. By combining the right settings for waves, depth, materials, reflections, and foam, you can create much more natural results for coastal projects, seaside villas, or even cinematic scenes. So, after Terran, ocean is one of the most important tools for creating realistic natural environments in D5 Render. Well, we have reached the end of the 6th and final episode of the D5 Render Crash Course series. Throughout this series, I tried to cover the most important sections and features of D5 Render, from the basics, starting with installation and getting familiar with the interface, then moving on to importing models, setting up materials, lighting, environment creation, effects, rendering, and finally more advanced features such as AI tools and the latest presentation features. During this course, we saw that D5 Render is not just a simple rendering engine. It is a complete tool for architects and designers that can make a large part of the project presentation process faster and easier. Some of the main strengths of D5 Render are its high speed, strong connection with software like Rhino, good output quality, and the continuous addition of new features with every update. However, we should remember that learning software is not only about knowing the tools and features. The most important part is practicing and using these tools in real projects. My suggestion is that after finishing this course, don't just stop at watching tutorials. Choose a real project, even a simple model, and try to apply everything we learned throughout this series, from creating the environment and adjusting the lighting, to choosing the right materials, creating a realistic atmosphere, and producing the final render. Also, D5 Render is still under active development, and new features are being added with every version. Some of the sections we explored in this course, such as interactive presentation and some AI tools, are still evolving, and we can expect more advanced features to be added in the future. Because of that, I will probably create separate and more in-depth tutorials for some of these features in the future, especially when these tools become more mature and offer more professional applications. If you found this series useful, I would really appreciate it if you shared your thoughts in the comments section. Also, if you have any specific topics related to D5 Render, Rhino, Grasshopper, or other architectural software that you would like to learn, feel free to suggest them so I can cover them in future tutorials. If you stayed with me until the end, thank you for following this course. I'm Hossein, and this was the 6th and final episode of the D5 Render Crash Course series. I hope this series helped you present your own projects faster, more professionally, and with higher quality. See you in the next one.